Hello fellow sim racers. This video is a little bit different. I'm going to attempt to tell two different stories that hopefully come together to make some sort of coherent point. The first of these stories concerns a race that I took part in last week, and that's where we begin things in today's video. Brands Hatch, one of my favourite places in the world, but it has to be said, a tricky place to navigate in the wet. I found myself at the sharp end of the field, surrounded by familiar names from the CHSR community. I got a pretty competent start, but the Porsche to my left leapt away from the green. In charge of that fast-starting Porsche was Ferox, a guy that I shared a seat with last year in our endurance series and, on equal terms, faster than me. Holding the inside for Druids, I felt that I'd got the job done, but that Porsche's traction once again showed in spades and I lost the high ground for Graham Hill Bend, albeit temporarily. After an all-too-close moment on the exit curb, I had a decent run on the inside into Surtees and, at least for the time being, a moment to breathe. So what was so significant about this particular race? On the surface, this was round 2 of our annual GT3 championship. I'd missed the first round due to other commitments, so I was keen to make up ground. But that's really only a small part of the story. I've not said much about this on the channel before, but the last year has been an increasing struggle for me from a mental health perspective. But being a resilient, or perhaps oblivious type, it actually took me a really long time to realise that anything was wrong. Far too long, in fact. And things had been getting progressively worse, and my work and pastimes really started to take a backseat to the business of just trying to get through the day. In fact, by the time I'd sat down in the rig for this race, it had been nearly 6 months since I'd last taken part in any sort of online racing. The inevitable rust began to show on lap 2, where I took too much curb on the inside of Graham Hill Bend and went deep into the runoff, which proved to be completely devoid of any sort of useful friction, and of course I lost the place, much in the same way I gained it on the previous lap. Eager to make up for that mistake, I calmly let Ferox have the place in order to get on the power earlier than him for the run down to Hawthorns, and somehow it all worked out as planned. But he was braver than me on the brakes, as one can be when your name isn't on the series, and, well, that was that. Okay, I'm being a little bit glib there. I probably would have braked at that point regardless, given the conditions. Much of the next phase of the race was spent running within a second of that increasingly familiar Porsche. And as the laps ticked by, I really started to settle back into things, and dare I say it, really started to enjoy myself. In fact, I couldn't remember a recent time where I'd been so focused. Things felt good behind the wheel, the car was doing what I told it to, and slowly but surely I started to close the gap, one hard-fought tenth of a second at a time. With 6 laps to go, I was within striking distance, but overtaking at Brands Hatch isn't a trivial task at the best of times. So much of the next few laps was spent making the already sizable Bentley fill the mirrors of that Porsche. I knew that forcing a mistake would likely be the only way past, and, well, it turns out luck was on my side. With 2 laps to go, I saw the Porsche just miss the apex at Clark Curve, which resulted in 2 wheels on the grass at corner exit. The overtake then was inevitable, and Ferox didn't fight too hard, instead setting himself up for a run on the inside into Druids, which, well, it came off pretty well, despite the somewhat laissez-faire approach to braking points. The Porsche had the high ground, and once again I had to settle in behind for the run down to Graham Hill, where, well, a familiar moment out on the runoff was just the thing I needed to regain the place, and this time for good. With a couple of laps to go, all of that squabbling had put us over 10 seconds behind the leading pair. But, well, that didn't matter. A podium was much more than I had expected on my return, and anyhow, what really mattered was what had unfolded over the course of the race. I crossed the line elated. I'd forgotten just how much you can be moved by a really close fight against a driver you really respect. And after a few very tough months away, that felt like, it felt like listening to your favourite album for the first time, or maybe that moment of relief when you walk out of your final exam. I know some of you watching this probably won't get what I'm talking about, and that's okay. What I wanted to achieve in this video, aside from some sort of bizarre therapy, was to share a moment in sim racing that meant the world to me. A moment that took on more significance than it probably should have, and honestly reaffirmed for me what it is that I love about this stupid pretend racing thing that we do. For me at least, sim racing is good for the soul.